Welcome to this week's episode of Imagine, where we are looking at how technology is redefining creative industries. Today's going to be a workshop, and we're going to do an intro into AI image making for environments. I'm going to go ahead and get started because there's a lot I want to cover today, and I think it'll be like having fun exploring all these different tools and what we can do with them, and like what else exists out there. So um, you should have received an email. If you're taking part in this series, you should have received an email with a folder. This workshop out folder is just anytime you have a file that you like, just go ahead and save it there so you can share it with people, or save it for later, put it in your phone background or whatever you want, really. We have facet image references. We're going to be training a model. We have a text document with prompts and some more references images and some images that we'll be using to create 3D models from as well over here. So the tools we'll be using today are Facet AI, Midjourney inside of Discord, and 3D.csm.ai. So if you want to go ahead and get those open while we're getting started, let's see, I've got Discord somewhere around here. So then you're ready to go once we get started. So so the motivation's a goal for today. So it's like an approach here is that playing is learning. We're going to learn about these tools and see what they can do, and we're going to like just experiment and try stuff, maybe stuff, and like some stuff will break and on purpose, and some stuff will break on accident. So we're just going to enjoy whatever happens. So the goals for today are to build a conceptual understanding of how AI tools work behind the scenes. So it's like what's happening in that, like in the magic section over here once we input some information. Learn what AI tools are out there and what they can be used for. Just a quick I'm Kako. I'm an artist and an educator, and I like spending my time reading and learning maths, thinking about representation, technology, and plants, which is how I find myself doing this workshop here. Maybe the first three have more relevance than the last one, but I like representing plants using technology and math, so who knows. Stuff that I've done. So right now I'm working on a video game that helps you learn maths and physics concepts. I've done it. I was part of the cohort for Culture Hub last year, and I did a holographic zoo with projected animals that you could engage with, and they responded to you. I've worked on this GAN video that was shown at a museum earlier this year, showing a relationship between the land and the built environment. And just for fun, throwing this one in there as well. If anyone else is into plants, I've created this website that I always forget how to take care of plants, so I've cataloged it here. It's just the plant is .webflow.io, and I can share that later today. So motivation and goals. So building a conceptual understanding, learning what AI tools are out there, and then exploring image generation for creating environments. So like, what is that process like? Let's replace magic and process with like a little bit of understanding of what's going on. And we're going to do that by jumping in to this demo as quickly as possible. I'm going to post this on the streaming link. Give me 1 second. And then exploring image myself. That's happening in the past. I'm a little bit in the future, so I've pasted this into the streaming streaming link, streaming chat. And what that is a link to a short demo of Pix2Pix where you can, let's do clear, you can select different types of objects. So doors, windows, let's add some windows here, windowsills. Let's do window headers. Let's just do a big one right there. Some shutters. Got to have the balcony, and then let's see what that gives us. And it's going to think for a little bit, and right there, that's what's happening in the. We go back here. That's what's happening in the Pix2Pix process, or that's what's happening in process. We're going to talk about like what that is, and that takes a little bit of a second to finish. So let's see what we've got. All right, almost done. Still running. There we go. So we've got an image that resembles what the input looks like. I'm just going to do clear and then select some randos because it's got some pre-saved inputs and outputs. So we can see that when this is updated on the left, it produces something that's related to it on the right. And you can start to imagine how that could be used in creating like facades for buildings, like down into the future. Like we want, let's say we've got a wind, like we're facing the east, and we want that sunlight. So we add a big window, and then that gives us an idea of what that could look like there. Or we don't want that window there because it's getting direct sunlight during the summer, so then it puts in a wall. So we can start to imagine like what these different tools can start creating. So we've done that one already. So this model right here is trained on a database of building facades. You can see that they're in a specific style, so that's important to remember later down the line when we start doing some style transfer. And like you've probably seen AI in other places. Here we've got the Balenciaga meme with Harry Potter, Mario, Breaking Bad, and Death Stranding. You've probably also seen images that look like this, which are an AI system generating like perfect corporate headshots. And you've also maybe you've heard this song before, which is fantastic, but it was created by AI. So it's a song that is Drake featuring The Weeknd, and it's not using either of them. It's actually generated by AI. It's actually a good song, and I think it almost won a Grammy, but was disqualified because it was it wasn't real, or it wasn't real. So what can AI do for you? So you've seen a couple of things. It can generate music. It can do recommendation if you have any streaming service or music service. You're probably getting recommendations based off of your taste. So a system is learning and then giving you ideas of what you could listen to. Pretty cool stuff where AI systems can do protein folding. Also probably seen some of this stuff, self-driving cars. AI can write code. This one's pretty fun too. It can do some stuff that's difficult, which is when you do 3D, like tweening between animations. AI can also play chess. So then this list is not exhaustive. This is just for you to get an idea of what AI can do. So companies and tools that you may recognize that are either companies that do AI specifically or have been doing a lot of AI research or folding AI into whatever it is that they do already. So specifically, you probably know that Google has been doing research in AI. Let me see. Adobe is integrating a lot of AI into their existing tools, and then these companies over here, you probably have known that they have been doing research in AI for a while. I'll make sure that everyone taking part in this presentation gets access to this list. To this presentation so you can have it for yourself. So just a little bit of discussion on terms. So you leave this presentation with a little bit of knowledge of like what do these systems do, how do they work, and what's going on behind the scenes. So like really what's the difference between artificial intelligence and algorithms? So artificial intelligence, the big difference is that artificial intelligence learns from input, and like maybe learns in quotations. It can update what it thinks the right answer is based off of more information that it's trained on, while algorithms are good for maybe like sorting information, or like finding a shortest path, or like finding specific like files or something like that. They have the same input produces the same output. They can't learn or get faster or get better at what it is that they're doing. And something you might be seeing later, which is artificial general intelligence versus artificial intelligence. Artificial general intelligence doesn't really exist yet, but its goal is learns many things. So we have general intelligence, that's all of us. We can learn a lot of different stuff, but there is yet to exist a system that is completely artificial general intelligence versus artificial intelligence. It does one thing well. So you've probably, like from this list over here, like a bot that can play chess really well, or something that can generate text, and that falls under a couple of other things, like making chat bots or writing code, or let's see processing language sentiment. So the systems can do something specific very well, and like I guess in this case it would be language. So language, and language. So AI tools, it's good to remember that AI tools are just tools in the end. We are using these tools. They're not going to take over the world anytime soon. So maybe we'll take over the world using AI tools. So AI tools we'll be using today, as I mentioned, Facet AI, Midjourney, and 3D CSM.ai. And what we'll be doing with these tools is we'll be training a model using text to image generation, image to image generation, and then image to mesh generation. So here we'll be training a model in Facet AI, and these second two will be using Midjourney, and then the third one will be using 3D.csm.ai. So to begin, we're going to be, as I mentioned, we're going to be training the model. So I think I'll go through an overview of like what these could look like. So training a model. Here's a model that I trained previously on drawings by Sana, the architecture firm. We'll be creating concept models. None of these exist. These are generated by the system. Concept renders on the exterior, and then concept renders for the interior as well. And then we'll be creating 3D meshes from some images that we generate. And this looks a little bit silly because, like, what is this blue? It looks like some type of like sweet bread that's half eaten. Like, what is this? It is a bad version of one of these, but it's good to know like what is potentially coming in terms of technology, like where are things going, and 3D to mesh is eventually going to be getting better. So it's good to know that it exists. It's good to know like what tools are out there as they improve, so we can keep checking in and seeing how much better they're getting. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to be training a model with Facet.ai. I'm going to go through these steps right here, and then we'll jump into Facet.ai. If you want to get that open and log in while I'm going through this, now would be a great time. So training a model with Facet.ai. So we're going to select refine model on left, And actually, we'll pull this over so we can see this at the same time. We're going to be training a model with Fast.ai. Select refine model on left, make new model, drag images from folder, tag images with concepts, train model. This might take a second, and then generate new images that don't exist yet. So it will also be good to have the folder that you downloaded. If we navigate to Facet image references, there is a folder with architects that have very distinct like artistic representational style. So pulled Aldo Rossi, some Archigram, Boulez, one of my favorites right here, Lebbeus Woods, Neil Denari, and Sanam. So all of those files should be in the architects. If you prefer to try it with something different, where it's like there's Animal Crossing, MC Escher, Patrick Nagel, also fun, and some Renaissance paintings. You can try it with that. So let's jump into, I'm going to try it with Boulez because I haven't made this one yet. So we're going to log into Facet AI. So we're inside of Facet AI. Let's pull this over, make this a little bit bigger, see what we're doing, and give ourselves a little bit more screen real estate so we can drag this over as well. So we've got Facet AI open. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to click on refine, either up here or over here. Here are some previous models that I've created. So once you've created a new model, it'll be a part of this this like board that has all of your models. So first we're going to do is click on new model, and a new tab should open, and you're going to drag at least 4 images into this window. I also want to point out that I'm using Chrome for Facet.ai. It's got a little bit of a bug that doesn't let you download on Safari. I haven't tried with Firefox, but just a heads up that if you're on Safari doing this, it might not work. So I'm going to drag the whole folder of Boulez images into here. And then what I want to do is I want to create a series of, well, I got to let that upload. And once that happens, what I'm going to do is add a series of concepts. So I'm going to add a concept, and I'm going to type, so it looks like there are circles. And then I'm going to add another concept, and I'm going to say these are like pyramids. I'm going to add another concept. This looks like interior vaults. Let's call it vaults. And then one more, because this looks like exterior. Let's say exterior. And let's say this looks like interior perspective, and one more, which is these like section cuts. So these 4 right here. And whatever it is that you're picking, they can be pretty general. I found that not having too many aspects, too many concepts works a little bit better. So just keeping it to less images and less concepts gives you a pretty decent result. So this last concept that I'm going to do, I've got interior perspective, I've got exterior pyramids, circles, vaults, and then I'm going to do like section cuts. All right, and then what I want to do next is I want to select the images that are all represented by this concept. So this one, this one, this one, and this one all get that circle tag. This one, get the pyramids. the vaults are done, these two, and then let's say exterior and exterior, interior perspective, and section cuts, 1, 2, 3, and then then what we want to do is let's rename this to Boule, and then train our model. And while that's training, because this might take a second, and it's okay to move on to the next thing so we can get through as much as possible, we're gonna like pretend that we're putting this in the stove and like letting it cook, and then we're gonna come back to it later. But as an example of the types of things that you can do, because I have other models already created, I'll show you this model right here that I created using drawings from CSMA, and you'll notice that these drawings do not exist here because they were generated by the system of the CSMA drawing. So later, when the model is trained on like what we mean with the concepts, we can start generating new images based off of the model and the concept. So then jumping to like what is a model? Like what is it that we just did? So a model, it's like a part of an AI system where we have like input. We've got a process that happens, and then that produces something. So the process is usually something like linear algebra and calculus. You don't have to really know like what that is or like what tools in both of those in linear algebra or calculus, but it's good to know it's like this is what's happening in the background. It's not some kind of like magic. It's math. So an example would be AI text to image. We have some text prompt that we put in. The type of process is diffusion, some type of diffusion, and then it creates the image in the end. So another example is AI that plays chess. You feed it a bunch of chess games. The process that it learns on is deep learning, and then hopefully if your bot learns well enough, then you're winning the game in the end. So let's see how our model is doing. It's still training. All right, so we're going to jump to the next part. While that's cooking, we're going to jump into Discord, and we're going to be using the Midjourney bot inside of Discord. So we're going to open Discord app, navigate to Discord server, type, or you could also message it directly. I'll show you what that means in a second. So type image, some prompt, and then we'll talk about like exterior, interior, aspect ratio, and then replace a feature. And all that will make more sense once I pull this over. So we'll keep this over here so we know what it is that we're doing. Oh, well, this generated. So let's generate something based off of the images that we use for Boule. Yours might take longer or it might take shorter, depending on how many images that you put in it. So I'm going to say a section cut of a swimming pool. Let's see what it gives me. And I'm going to crank up the steps and crank up the clarity. And while that's going, I'm actually going to jump into Discord. So what we want to do is we've opened up the Discord app. You may have landed somewhere here with all of these different rooms that you can go to. It's also possible if you want to have your own space, if you just direct message the Midjourney bot, you just click on that plus, and then if you have Midjourney, well, since I've already have it up here, it's not going to pop up, but you just type Midjourney and you're messaging it directly, and that way all the images and graphics that you generate are saved, and you don't have to sift through a bunch of other people's stuff. Let's see what this looks interesting. So give us a section of some kind of swimming pool. Let's try something else. Let's do a pyramid of circles, which is probably not something real, but let's see what the system generates, because that's half the fun, is making stuff up and seeing how you can trick the system. So we've navigated to Discord. We are here now. We're going to prompt it to create some kind of image. So the way that you do that is you type / and say imagine. Oops, imagine, and then we can type a really tall building that is covered in vines. You can type anything, really, and then just click enter. So when typing a prompt, it's helpful to be specific, but not overly verbose. There's a little bit of a sort of system for defining like how you want it to look, and that is, I'm going to jump over here, is how to write a good prompt specifically in the context of architecture and visualization. So we want to pay attention to a couple of things. So first of all, these models that we're creating, as you see from, let's jump to this slide over here. So trained on a database of building facades. So this was trained on a database of building facades. When you type in specific words inside of this model, it is trained on like what humans, since they started saving images about architecture, like this model is trained on as many architecture images of real buildings, like drawings of buildings, photographs of models, all of that stuff. It is trained off of that. Not just that, but it is trained off of like what the tags on buildings are. So if a courthouse looks different than a library, which looks different than a university, apartment building, they all have different and distinct ways of looking, like in the urban context. So the system is trained on that as well. So it's good to know these words that you can either add and then remove, and it's fun to like play around and see like what do you get when you say include or include something more specific, like next to a waterfall, or during the winter in Antarctica or something like that. But it's good to have at least a base understanding of like what the program is. Like, is it a library, a museum, concert hall, amphitheater? Like, what is it? Is it a school? The building style, like, is it postmodern, modernist, Rococo, Baroque, Gothic? Who's the architect? Because architects also have distinct style. OMA, Diller Scofidio, Jeannie Gang. Materials, concrete, wood, metal, glass, etc. Like this one's important and a little bit specific to architecture, because there are a handful of architectural firms that do, rendering firms that do a lot of the look viz for architects. So we'll go through some of those. Actually, it might be helpful for you to open that up right now. So let me navigate here and go to text prompt. So you should also have a document that outlines this information with that gives you some program types, some architecture styles, materials, render styles, views, lighting, and context. So you have some of this information in that text document. So let's keep going and generate some images. The first thing that we're going to do is I'm just going to copy this text right here, or type this text right here into the text prompt. So let's say imagine a museum. Oops, I don't think it's working. Let's try that again. Imagine museum brutalism, Snøhetta, glass facade, MIR rendering. So MIR is let me just show them because they are really good. They are a well-known visualization house that does a lot of fantastic work. And a lot of the images that that are trained around like architecture, let's see, if you want to go there yourself, so it's being a little slow loading for me right now, but oh, there we go. So all of these are renderings. So they do a really good job of representing buildings cinematically, almost like portraits of buildings. So a lot of visualization or systems trained on images around architecture are trained around images that look like this, or another look. You're probably familiar with V-Ray render. So let's see, arc. I didn't even have to type ArcViz, so you'll see that like it automatically pops up and shows us a lot of architectural visualization done. Here, let's just stay here for a second and say Octane, just so you get an idea of the types of looks and feel, because each render engine has like subtle looks that make them distinct. And then Unreal Engine. So I've added those. I've added some of those here, so you can find them in the render style. So here we are, museum, brutalism, Snøhetta, glass facade, MIR rendering. We want a bird's eye view, a neutral lighting, and then I'm not going to type interior renderer just yet. Let's just see what happens. So while that's going, I'm going to type another one as well. So museum, brutalism, Snøhetta, blue, let's say glass facade, MIR render, and then let's say looking at the entrance and sunset lighting by the water, and then press enter. So you'll see that the image, let's see, we can see this in, once this starts, we'll see what I'm talking about. So what's happening here is that each pixel is sort of like deciding what it's going to be based off of the pixels next to it, and the image slowly starts to take form based off of the text input that we have right here. And these seem pretty convincing in terms of images. So what we want to do next is like, well, this looks great, but what if we wanted this to be from the interior? So let's try this again. All I did was click on this like recycle button, but we're just doing it all over. So what we want to change is the view. Instead of the view from the interior, we want to say view of interior atrium. I did practice my spelling for this and I still got it wrong. Neutral. There we go. And the museum. The system still got it right, even though I'm a horrible speller, but here we go. And we can have multiple images being processed at the same time. So I'm going to jump to creating a version of this with a model. So we're going to do something similar. So we're going to say museum, brutalism, Snøhetta, glass facade, MIR rendering, axonometric, studio lighting, and then press enter here. So we see that using the same prompt, but just changing a couple words gave us something like similar in style, but from a different perspective. So now we're looking at the inside of the atrium, which is kind of nice. But when you're doing some of this stuff, you might want to change a couple of things. So let's click on, let's see what we can do. let's do this one. So I just clicked on this U to upscale it. So you'll see that this still looks like a rendering. It doesn't give us a, oh, actually it did give us what we wanted. So, which is great. So let's try one more thing. Instead of axonometric, instead of ending with studio lighting, I'm going to end with studio lighting, but what I want to do is plastic model. I want to add that as well. And then let's, I guess it doesn't matter if you spell museum right or not, they know what you're talking about. All right, so then we've got, now we're able to create and generate images that work pretty well. We might want to do a couple of other things like upscaling, making variations, but also like editing a region. Before we get there, I'm going to show y'all one more thing, which is so that's coming out nicely. What I want to do is, this looks like nice and cinematic, but I want to change the aspect ratio, and we're going to do that by doing --AR, which is aspect ratio, space, and I'm going to 16:9, which is a nice aspect ratio for like a cinematic look. So we can see that adding plastic model at the end gave us this look of a plastic model. Next, what we want to do is, so we're going to let that go right there. Next, what we want to do, oh, let's see how our pyramid of circles didn't really do too well. Let's say volts exterior circle. Let's see if that does anything. So next, what we want to do is we want to reference some images. Well, I'm getting ahead of myself. Before we jump there, I'm going to see like, or I want to show y'all that this is an approach to generating a prompt, and it gives us something pretty reliable. It's like we are doing program, building, architect, material, look, view, lighting, and then are we inside or outside? A little bit of context. But another approach to this is you can ask another AI system to write you a prompt. So I got ChatGPT to write a prompt for Midjourney to produce experimental urban architecture. This is it right here. And I'm just going to say the same thing, imagine, and then paste that there. And then I'm going to say aspect ratio 16:9, and then press go. So it's giving us something pretty convincing, pretty reliable with these prompts. We can generate these images that look like models that can start to build like a concept board for what we want our structure to look like, or the backdrop for like, we know we have a space that is double height, and we've got a walkway. Like, this can serve as a rendering to help us visualize, like, what does that space look like? And then we might want to come in and like edit some stuff, like, well, let's do that right now. So let's say vary region, and say we want to add a pool, like right here. Let's make the foreground a pool. So we're going to say a pool of water with fish, and let that go right there. So this is the output of what this large prompt produced. So also something convincing based off of the AI image. The AI text generation, like giving us a prompt, it produces something convincing. Now we're getting what it thinks the pool is that we want. So getting pretty close. So you can start to replace parts of your image as well with that very region. You can change the aspect ratio with, let's try this one again, but then instead of aspect ratio 6:9, let's do 9:6, sorry, 916. So it'll give us something tall. Maybe it'll give us a tower. So this is what our pool looks like with fish. That looks pretty convincing. Turn the whole floor into a pool, which is also nice. But what else can we do with the system? So the next part of this is going to be using an image as a reference. So we're going to navigate to the Midjourney reference 3 folder and see that there are references for interior, exterior, and material. So what I'd like you to do is take one of these, any of these really, or if you want to search for your own material, you can do that as well. I'm going to take the blue foam, I'm going to drag it in here, and then I'm going to press enter. And then what I want to do is I'm going to right click on the image and copy the link and say imagine, and then type, oops, that's not the one I want just yet, imagine, and then type, and then paste the image that I copied from here. And then I'm going to type high tech greenhouse, one of my favorite architects, Tadao Ando, and then say blue foam model, and then Unreal, trying a different look, Unreal Engine, render, studio lighting, and then axonometric. I think I got that one right. And then let that go. So we've got our model in here. Sorry, reference image in here. So we'll see like what that produces. We can also try with different materials. So here I'm dragging in some basswood, and I'm going to do the same thing, but change up the prompt a little bit. So I'm going to copy a link, imagine, paste the link, and then high tech greenhouse. I'm going to try Peter Zumthor. Unreal Engine render, studio lighting, wood model. So it starts to give us some pretty convincing like little blue film model that can serve as a like initial inspiration to like making your models, or you can generate a bunch of these. Let's just go crazy here and generate like 3 at the same time. Generate a bunch of models at the same time for us. So once you've hit your max, this will show up, but it'll start going once one of your other renders are finished. So, and while that's thinking, let's see what our, so this is the wood model, what it looks like. And it's okay. It's not always going to be perfect. Sometimes the output isn't going to be what you expect, and like that's all right. Try playing with the words. Let's say instead of let's say glass facade, studio lighting. Okay, let's try it. Let's see what that, if that has an effect on what the image produces. And so now we're starting to use an image as a reference to the images that we're producing. But what if you want to be a little bit more specific? And let's see what happens when we try something like that. So we've got this drawing of an interior and this simple render of an interior as well. I'm going to drag both of them into here, press enter. So it's still giving us something really, I mean, maybe if you're looking for something like this, maybe a larger model, it could work. For me, it's not what I have in mind, and that's okay. Like you just keep trying and keep tweaking. It's never going to be always be perfect the first time. It just takes a little bit of work to understand how the system itself is trained off of the words that you're using. So, but this next thing that we want to do, let's copy, let's take an image that we like here, or maybe something a little bit different. Let's take one of these. Let's take, oh, I didn't generate those now, so I don't want to use them yet. So, okay, great. So this is exactly why I had this folder here. So I've shared references to a couple of images. This is the merge ref folders. So inside you'll have a couple of images that you can use. I'm going to use this one right here, just because I think it's a nice image. And then I'm going to say, I'm going to do a couple of things. I'm going to copy this image. Well, before I get ahead of myself, first I'm going to copy this link of just the line one, and I'm going to try typing some of the same stuff that we've done before. So I've copied the link, I paste it, and then I'm going to say apartment, tower, Mies van der Rohe, glass and metal facade, MIR rendering, bird's eye view of New York City. Let's see, interior, apartment view of New York City. Okay, great, let's try that. And then while that's going, I'm going to type the exact same thing, but I'm going to use this image as the reference. So let me copy that image, copy that image, copy the link, paste that in there, and then I'm going to copy everything basically up until the 916. I'm realizing that that's going to give me something vertical, and I actually want it to be horizontal for this so we can see. So I'm going to do this one. When this is done, I'm going to do it again. So now what we're doing, using a reference image that we've created, we can get the system to generate something sort of that's more in line. Say you already have a model, you want to quickly iterate over like what is it going to look like when it's got realistic lighting, views, that kind of stuff inside of it. Here, let's see. So I think it's important to try this one as well, so you get a sense of like how it's pulling information from the images. So let's try this again. And then we're going to do copy this, but we can see that so this is the image that we told it to reference, and these are the output. So it looks like it created something like nice, but it flipped it. So in this way, we can start to generate like ideas for us, like, oh, what can this look like on the inside? And we can try it again, say neutral lighting, furnished, submit that. And we can also see that like this is what it's starting to give us when we add a simple drawing. So it gives us something. Like we didn't really give the system very much to work with, but it gave us something. So we can start to generate ideas based off of like simple drawings as well. Maybe if you want to take a little bit more time to draw something than I did here, these like simple lines, but it's willing to work with very little, which is great, because then it starts to get the ideas going. You start to think about like, oh, what could this be? But we can also do something else, which is, and this will be the last bit before so we've done image to image, and then image to mesh will be the last thing, and which is great because we're getting close to time. So the last bit is going to be the blend. So this will take 2 images, and I've supplied these merge references here as well if you want to use those, or if you feel like using something that you've already made and you're like, I want to mix this and this just to see what happens. I don't think I have a model in here, so I'm going to go ahead and say, and make that one bigger. And while that's working, so great. So what we want to do is let's save this image to our merge ref folder, workshop. Let's see this one right here, merge ref, blue foam model. And then we're going to use that one in here. And then we're going to use, just to see what happens, let's do this one in here. And then press enter to see. And this is good timing because with the last 5 minutes that we have, so we've covered training our own model in Facet AI. Curious what y'all have been able to produce with your references and images. Let's try one more while we're still waiting for stuff to happen. So doing that, and then we're going to generate the same thing. We've done training our own model, generating. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, it kind of did combine them pretty well. So we combined this image right here with this image right here. And we can keep going until we're happy. We can say like, let's say AR16.9, and then let's say axonometric view sitting on a white backdrop, just to see. All right, great. So then now with the last bit of time, what we're going to do is with the 3D model references, I'm realizing that, okay, this will be a good test. So it's like select a model looking like something that looks like an object from Discord that you've made, save that to your machine, and then navigate to csm.3d.ai. I'll show you all a couple of examples of some stuff that I've trained, some stuff that I've generated. You'll see that it does like a decent job of like generating like that. It seems like a pretty complex shape, but it's nowhere near like, depends on what you're going to do with it. Like it's not, you're not going to create like plan drawings or anything from this, but it is potentially useful for like a quick massing study to bring it into Rhino or your 3D program of choice, and then start to block out the shapes that you've created. So what we're going to do, and you can see the one that I initially showed in the presentation, like these are complex shapes, so nice try, but it still looks like this, like it melted a little, which is like, it's great. And I think what's important here is to know that that these things are out there, that they're being developed on, and like they're going to be just getting better and better. And then while we let that go, while we let that think, so this is just going to be thinking. So once you've uploaded it to csm.ai, you can, let's see, I'm going to say 1.1 and then generate preview. And this might take a second, so we're just going to jump back to the presentation and So we're creating the image to mesh. So we've already done all the steps. Just open up 3d.csm.ai, uploaded our image, and then training the preview. So we've already done that, and that does take some time. So I wanted to leave you all with like a little bit more information if you're curious about looking into like what's behind a lot of this stuff, and you should check out and read Stable Diffusion, just the wiki page. It's interesting, and you should look it up on your own if you're interested in learning more about like how this works and how you can get into it and like learn more about what's happening in the background, because this was an intro to how to use these tools, but I think it's good to be exposed to like what's going on in the background, so you have a better understanding of like how you're using it and like how you can play with generating more like more images or like different stuff like 3D and like what's coming, like what might be happening in the future. So if anybody has any questions about any of this, it would be now would be time. I think I'm living a little bit in the future based off of this screen, so I'm just gonna say so if there are any questions in the audience, feel free to ask. And I appreciate everyone showing up to this presentation. Would be excited to see what you were able to produce. I know that was a lot of information to cover really quickly, but thanks for showing up. And you got to start somewhere with this stuff. So I think like you came here, which is great. So I'm gonna give it maybe a couple minutes just to see if anyone has any questions. And while we're waiting, we can maybe generate some more of these because these look kind of spooky. So this is just in time for spooky month. Did anyone notice that it was Friday the 13th last week? That was exciting. In October as well. So this is generating some more stuff. So we can, we didn't talk about this, but we can upscale the image, make it substantially bigger. So I'm going to save this image to my machine so we can see like how big it actually is. So taking this to the workshop out and going to navigate to the file on my computer, so we can see that the image is being created at 1024 by 1024. So it's a good size. It's turning some of the people into trees, which is kind of fun. But let's see how big it actually generates this. Oh, it looks like it's going to take a minute. Well, I'm not seeing any questions. I appreciate everyone showing up. If you post anything anywhere, would love to see it. You can @ me at United Futures, and I hope to see you next week. We've got a fun presentation talking about how these tools are being utilized in generating some fashion. So we've got James Orlando and Laura Michelin talking, which should be really good. So that's me. I hope you enjoyed yourself, and I hope to see you next week.